Wouldn't you know it, right as Monster starts talking, the last video cut off. But I mean, yeah, I mean there's tons of characters that you could go with for the DC animated.
Yeah, the list really is endless.
Yeah,
the list really is endless.
It is. It's endless for both Marvel and DC. But then again, Marvel's not doing animated shorts, but I hear that they're doing like 10-minute live action segments that they're gonna try to do in the future. I think that that's a good thing, but Marvel does need to kind of step their game up in the animation department, because we're gonna be waiting forever for that Thor, Tales of Asgard, and everything else.
Yeah, and even that thing I'm not too crazy about, because honestly, I mean, I'm sorry, but making Thor into a teenager, is that the best they can come up with?
Yeah, and I mean, I get what Marvel's trying to do. They're trying to adapt a lot of their storylines to compete with DC. But see, the reason why DC's DVDs kind of sell better, note to Marvel, put animated shorts in there for lesser known characters in your universe. It might sell the DVDs a little bit more, because I've talked to people that have bought a lot of the DC DVDs and they always buy the Blu-ray ones because they come with the animated shorts. And most people love the animated shorts because, and a lot of people loved the Spectre, and that was one that I couldn't get to see. And I finally, when I watched that Return of Black Adam and I saw the Spectre, that by far, the Spectre was probably, that's definitely my personal favorite, right next to the Green Arrow one, because Green Arrow and the Spectre were done very heavily, and done with love and care. Now, I got nothing against Superman Shazam. It was good for what it was, an origin of Captain Marvel. And Jonah Hex is in the lower echelon, not because of the Josh Brolin film, but we'll get into that in our next discussion. It's just, oh yes, I know you're cringing, but look at it this way. Can get all that done now. Moving on to a question, hopefully if the camera doesn't die or cut us off again, because my battery light's flashing, as always. What is, in the Marvel and DC universe, one villain from each universe, which is the ones that we absolutely hate above all reason and wish would be killed off? Oh, I was expecting you to chuckle.
Yeah, I know you're dead set on one that you absolutely cannot stand.
In the Marvel universe, and I don't understand why he is so popular, but fucking MODOK, that giant Humpty Dumpty looking son of a bitch. He is just basically a giant head in a floating wheelchair that shoots forehead beams. That's his only purpose. And you know that it's a really, really bad supervillain when even Hawkeye can take him out very, very easily. And I swear to you, but MODOK is there for comedic effect, and I love it. I love the fact that Wasp and Thor are just making fun of him and ignoring him. I especially love the fact, that the AIM guys are struggling to drag him back into the ship during that, Widow's Sting episode. To me that's just funny, because MODOK is to me he's the most useless character. I mean, seriously, even Stiltman could kick his ass.
If I had to pick one Marvel villain that I absolutely hated, I would have to say, I think I would have to say Mole Man.
Because he seems like the less ambitious villain.
Yeah, I mean I think he's just literally the laughing stock of the entire Marvel universe. Because like, he commands a whole bunch of slaves underneath the ground, but that he himself is an incredibly weak character. He can have his ass kicked by anybody.
Even Squirrel Girl.
Even Squirrel Girl. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know who Squirrel Girl is, look it up. She's actually the one character who's beaten both the Submariner and Doctor Doom, and I'm not making that shit up. When I told Monster this and he looked it up, he laughed his ass off. That seriously, Doctor Doom, the almighty powerful Doctor Doom, gets beaten by a girl who can command squirrels, and they beat him by throwing nuts at him. Just enough said there. But in terms of the DC universe, who is the one character that I feel is useless? You know, another character that's just as bad as MODOK, but at the same time, without her, Apocalypse would be evil. But, you know, to me, she's just an overall snotty and annoying character. But Granny Goodness, I'm sorry, they gotta kill her off. She sounds like a transvestite. She serves no purpose. And it's funny because you could hear in Monster's voice there for a second a hesitance because he thought I was going to talk about Amanda Waller. No. I've had a change of heart. I don't want Amanda Waller killer. I don't want Amanda Waller killed. No. I want them to stick a Twinkie on a plunger and put it to her forehead like Chris in that one episode of Family Guy and make her ass run on a treadmill for my own amusement.
I think any DC character that I don't like. This is a character who this may come as a surprise because she's a fairly popular character. But Harley Quinn, I don't really hate her, but I just don't much care for her as a character. Like, honestly, I get what they were doing with her, and she's an okay villain on her own, but I think that she's kind of way too popular. I don't really understand why exactly she was incorporated from the animated series into the Batman comics, where there were actually a couple of other original characters in the Batman animated series that I really would have wanted to see come into the comics.
Like Captain Mustard?
No, actually I would have liked to see the Grey Ghost actually show up in the comics.
You know, that would have been kind of cool to see, but even then they did comics on the animated series, which I was very surprised about. But I mean, but then again, the flip side of that conversation is which is the one, villain, the one pretty much, villain that you absolutely love from both universes. Honestly,
boy, that's a tough one.
That's an extremely tough one because there's a lot on the DC universe that I like, and there's quite a few from Marvel that I love.
I can name I think if I had to include one character in my top 5 from Marvel, I would have to say Ultron.
I would have to say for me, it's very, very tough. But I would actually say that, and this may come as a bit of a surprise, but I would say Loki would probably be is probably one of my favorite villains from Marvel, because Loki, he's not just the god of mischief, but he's a great strategist, he's a great planner, he's very methodical in how he carries his plans out. And he's the kind of guy that you can't really trust. He's like the Joker in that respect. You can't really